And so when God created man and Adam in the garden, God decided himself that he himself would not join or participate with his creations in the way that they are. He said, I would choose actively to stay above them, which was wise in the eyes of some, but not if you want to participate in the activities of man. And so God made a huge mistake in that if he gave Adam Eve, then he should have told Eve, come to your lake, man, that she could be God too. He did not give women the option to do that because he himself was not thinking in terms of longevity, but he was thinking in Sutter Subtioco, which is heaven's italics for he was thinking that I want mine at the time and I want it at the time regularly forever, instead of thinking I'm gonna bless myself with what I need to develop. Yeah. And so God fell from grace at that exact minute, if you ask us. But I don't think he should have left anybody else, because the fact still remained that if Eli was in the garden at the time, which he was, a divine entity, a royalty, and it's a rare situation indeed for a human of modern culture and society. But the same guy Dexter Gardner was somebody in the garden, but he was not Adam or Jesus. He was not mentioned, intrinsically, but he was there and he had the power himself to create his own Tico board. And military people would know what that means. So when he created his own Tico board, he left, and that was it. But they did not tell him that he didn't have to stay in the garden anymore. They didn't tell him to stay or to go, because he was not somebody bound to the Triosphere network system, which is something we all know and understand. Because if a man is in the earth and he's bound to the Triosphere network system, then he cannot do the things that God said. And it's weird because that's something that man normally is. But in the case of Dexter Ray Jiki or Garner Fleckeros, he was not somebody in the same position that everybody else was in at any given time. But it seemed and appeared like he was, because he was placed in the time zone period where he had to do something different forever, in a good way for him and those who are later coming in the future. And so, no. Eli told God no in the garden. He said, I will not lend you my arm of dignitude and allow you to create mankind from me in order so you can have sex with the women that I am chosen for. Yes, Soto. And so when you look at the women in the earth today, it's crazy. It's one of those Afroshad Marvel times. You know, when he laughing and started grinning with the teeth in the face, it's one of those moments. It's crazy because when you look at the women in the earth today and how they always emphasize the fact that he was not chosen for them in every disrespectful way, it's different. Because these women that God created were not the ones that Eli would create later, which still now is kind of distant in the eyes of some for the future. And so those women will be with the men that Eli create, and Eli will be with the men that Eli create, and the women will be with Eli and the men that Eli create. And that's the new world, Wazo. But God, if you will, Tayaso, who was before for the earth, he himself did not think of such a Joyaso plan. He did not think that far, nor did he try to, and nor did he desire to at the time. So he said, God, I will not do it, and he would not do it. And that's what God replied. And Satan that nobody understood what God said. And this is prophetic deliverance, guys, for people who was bound captive in every which way spiritually. But this is something straight from the Garden of Eden at the time of creation. And it was weird because when Eli was there, God said no. And Eli said no first. Well, when God said no, he said it in a different way. So nobody understood what that meant, right? But when you look at life today in the modern times of Marvel, you learn something crazy. The military been watching the skid board for 18 years or centuries. The military never once said that Dexter Ray Gardner was not allowed in the U.S., but rappers or instrumental artists did say that. Now, in the Garden of Eden, Lucifer was very good with music. Very good. That was Satan. He was very good with music in the garden, right? God created him special with other angels that could do the same thing. But Lucifer was the most elegant at it, right? So God told Lucifer, settle down, settle down. And Lucifer said, well, I'm doing my nature like everybody else. But okay. And so he did. But Eli was in the garden doing the same thing, but not in the same field. Woo! Y'all so cool, bro. Eli was in the garden doing the same thing artist was doing, but not in the same field that artist was doing. Whoa! we'll say, so if you understand one thing, that if Ellie was there and women was there, then those women want to hear something different, but not forever, but just for a minute. But if men was there, they'll say Ellie was a Roger saint. That's what they would say, Roger saint, for the simple fact, they'll say men are not supposed to be here at this time, but if they were supposed to be there, then they'll tell God, no. And see, we got a lot of no going on, don't we? Exactly. Those men that tell God no, for the simple fact, they'll say, Father, you have forsaken me. Woo! God's old boy. Y'all know cool. Yeah, they'll say, Father, you have forsaken me. Why, oh why you created me, O Master God of heaven royalty, and I cannot lay with the spouse of my sepulchre. And God will look down from earth at that time period as he was, he'll say, because I created you and you are supposed to live. But Ellie was not created by me, but he lives some kind of way. So that was it, why Soto. And they say Ellie was not created by him. Who is Ellie? And that's the end of the recording. Y'all know.